Hey guys, welcome to Fractions. Today we're going to be doing this page, page 6. We're still talking about equivalent fractions. This is kind of similar to what we've been working on. So let's talk about equivalent fractions some more. So if you have this shape, let's pretend like it's a food item. I'm just gonna pretend like it's pie. How about apple pie? So I've got the whole pie cut in half, and somebody says, hey Daniel, you can have half of this pie. So how much do I have? Well, I've got half of it, which means the pie has been cut into 2 pieces total, and I have one of those 2 pieces. So I have half of the pie. I have one of the 2 pieces. One of the 2, 1/2. That's what half means. It means 1 out of 2. It's been cut into 2. I have one of them. You guys all know what half means. But we're talking about equivalent fractions. So what if somebody comes in to the kitchen and my half of the pie has been left out, and they cut the whole thing again like that. And I was like, why are you touching my pie? Leave my pie alone. And then they say, you know what, Daniel, you still have the same amount of pie. What are you worried about? And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Because now, guess what? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of pie. So four total. How many do I have? Well, I've got 2. Because on the bottom is how many total, up top is how many you have. How many are you talking about? So I have the same amount of pie, right? 1/2 is the same amount as 2/4. So they're like, don't worry about it, Daniel, you still have the same amount of pie. I'm like, okay, you're right. So 1/2 is 2/4. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I go about my business. I'm like, I can't wait until I eat my pie because I'm going to wait. I like to show a little restraint and have my pie later in the day after dinner. And then I'm going about my business. I come back. I notice they just cut the pie up again. They cut the pie that used to be 4 pieces into 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm like, why'd you just cut my pie? They're like, Daniel, chill out. You still have the same amount of pie. Now there are 8 pieces total. So the denominator is 8. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 8. It's the same amount of pie. You used to have 1 out of 2, then you had 2 out of 4. Now you have 4 out of 8. Either way, you have half the pie. Why do you care? Like, I guess you're right. I just kind of liked it when it was just one big piece, but I can eat 4 smaller pieces. So each time the pieces become smaller. And then guess what's going to happen next? You guessed it. They're going to come in and cut my pie again. But I'm still going to have the same amount of pie because I always have half the pie. What do you think the next number is going to be? Well, do you notice any patterns happening here? Do you notice how the 1 doubles into 2, and the 2 doubles into 4, and then the 2 doubles into 4, and the 4 doubles into 8? Each time, whatever the bottom one does, the top one does. Which makes sense because even though you're cutting them all into smaller pieces, I still have the same amount of pie, I just have more smaller pieces now. So each time, whatever happens to the bottom happens to the top. So do we have any guesses on what's going to happen to the next time the person comes in and cuts my pie in half again? Well, it's just going to keep doing the same pattern. We're going to multiply 8 by 2 and 4 by 2, and then we'll know. Because they're just going to come in and cut all the pieces in half again. So you're going to have more pieces total, but also all have more pieces. So all have more smaller pieces. So what's 8 times 2? 16. And what's 4 times 2? 8. So if they come in again, there should be 16 total, and I'll have 8 instead of 4. Right now I have 4 8s. So I have 4 out of the 8. So I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen if they cut it, and I kind of prefer if they just will leave it, but if they do, I guess I'll be okay with it. because I know I'll have the same amount of stuff. They'll just be smaller pieces. So I'm going about my business. And guess what happens when I'm doing my thing somewhere else? My roommate comes in, cuts all the pieces in half again. They think they're being funny. Which they kind of are being funny, actually. So they just cut each piece in half. So now, let's see if I have 16. Let's see if our guess was correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep, 16 total. So there used to be 8 pieces, now there's 16 total. But as long as I still have 8 pieces, I still have half the pizza, or the pie. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So I have the same amount of pie. So that can just happen forever, you guys. There's no end to this. Eventually the pieces would be so tiny I couldn't even pick them up anymore. So if you did it again, what would happen? Well, 16 times 2 is 32. 8 times 2 is 16. So if they came back in and tried it again, I don't know if I want to do this. It'd take too long. But you get the idea. It'd look like this. And that. 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 I think that's all of them. But even now that we have 32 pieces, I still have half the pizza still colored in, right? So I still have half the pizza. So it just goes on forever and ever and ever. So with your homework here, with your schoolwork, you could color in 2 of those pieces, 2 out of the 8, and then notice how, oh yeah, they just cut each piece in half. My roommate came in and cut them all in half. So you could either just color them in and then see what the same amount is. Oh yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. How many do I have? 4. How many are total? Well, I better count them up. And you'll know the answer. And you'll also know that whatever happens to this number, it's going to happen to this number. So as you do these, first color them in, and then color these in, and then count up the total, put it at the bottom, count up how many you have up top, and then just kind of notice what's happening. If the 2 up top doubles, the 8's going to double. If the 4 up top divides in half, the 6 is going to divide in half. So it can kind of go both ways. So today all you have to really do is just color them in and count them up. 1/4, 1 out of 4. And then notice what's happening. If the top part doubles, the bottom part's going to double. And just kind of notice for this whole thing, there's mostly doubling. I think in fact, it's all doubling. It's either doubling or halving. Either way, it's going to be the same kind of relationship with the numbers. Whatever happens at the top, happens at the bottom. If the top doubles, the bottom doubles. Top doubles, bottom doubles. Top doubles, bottom doubles. Top doubles, bottom doubles. So 1/2 is 2/4, which is 4/8, which is 8/16, which is 16/32. It just means the pieces are getting smaller and smaller. But as the total pieces get smaller and smaller, you get more of them. So you still have the same amount of stuff. I don't have 1 piece anymore. Now I've got 16 pieces. But the pieces are way smaller. And as they do these, it's kind of fun just to look at the patterns too. Notice how 1 is half of 2, 2 is half of 4, 4 is half of 8. Do you think that would keep going on forever? So please finish page 6.